Welcome to a beautiful day in the neighborhood, right? This is 5 Minutes with KeRusso. It's not Mr. Rogers. But it's a beautiful day. You can hear the dogs barking. One of them is my dog talking to a neighbor. Hopefully, you'll hear me over them. I want to talk with you about Matthew chapter 24 and some teachings that Jesus gives there about power. Matthew in his gospel is going to use the word power multiple times, but he's only going to ascribe power to the kingdom of heaven. Nowhere else. Only the kingdom of heaven has real power. And that's Matthew's message as you read his gospel. The word he uses for power is dunamis. That's the Greek word. We get our English word dynamite from that. So you can kind of get a visual image of what power looks like, okay? How explosive it can be. Jesus is going to use power 3 times in his teachings in Matthew 24. And I'm going to just kind of lay it out for you here, the backdrop for what he's talking about. There are going to be some false Christs, some people who are going to claim to be him, who are going to show up and try to get a following of people. They're going to do things that they will see as a demonstration of power. People are going to buy into it, and they're going to revolt against Caesar and the Roman government. So Rome's going to send in an army and just lay Israel to waste and kill a whole lot of people. The army is going to surround Jerusalem and lay siege to it, and people are going to start dying of starvation in that city. And in order to not die of starvation, they're going to try to escape at nighttime and break through or sneak through the Roman army in their lines. Most of them are going to get caught. The Roman army, what they're going to do is a way to bring terror to the people in the city is the people they catch, they're going to crucify them in sight of the city. Josephus, a Jewish historian, would write about those times. He said there wasn't enough crosses for the people, and there wasn't enough wood for the crosses. Just horrible, horrible time, and a horrible use of power. All of us know how governments can use power abusively to harm people, to harm their own people. So we've known that, we've seen that. Some of you who have experienced that. And you can be afraid of that power. You can give into it. You can cower to it. And Jesus would write, or he would speak about how there would be disciples who would be going through these times. They would give up following him because of this abusive use of power. But that's not real power. In verse 24, Jesus is going to say this: "For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." That "if possible" is that word power. A way to paraphrase that, Jesus said, you're going to have these imitators who are going to do all these signs and miracles, trying to deceive the elect, but they don't have the power to deceive the elect. They don't have real power. And then a little bit after that, he's going to say in verse 29, "Immediately after the distress of those days, after all these things happen, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken." And that phrase, heavenly bodies, is the word power. So another way to read that is, after these things happen, Jesus is going to shake up the powers as they are known. Now, how's he going to do that? You read in verse 30, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in the heaven. And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the 4 winds, from one end of the heavens to the other." Speaking of his return, Jesus says he's going to come in power, and this is real power. And the nations, those nations that have rebelled against him, those nations who have denied who he is, who have denied his authority, who've done horrible things to disciples, they're going to mourn because they're going to see real power, and they're going to be on the wrong end of it. But that Jesus is going to use that power to save his disciples and bring them into life. And that's what he's going to talk about in Matthew chapter 25. So here's what you and I need to understand. You're going to see displays of power throughout your life in many different ways. But when you look at it in relationship to Jesus, it doesn't stack up. It's not really power. All of that that power answers to Jesus, and he's going to hold accountable all of those people who reject him, who deny him, who oppose him, who persecute his people. And Jesus is going to use his power to save his people and bring them into a new life. That's power. And that's Jesus. Always in the kingdom of heaven, the power is. Remember that as you live your life, as you see all these displays of power. They're not going to last. They're just imitations of what's real. Hang on to Jesus. Follow him. No matter what happens. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you next time on 5 Minutes with KeRusso. Leave any comments, send an email at booksbykerusso@gmail.com. Thank you very much.